So we're going to start with our executive session, or such as it may be called. Need to start with the approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Vote, all say aye. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, no nays. Carries unanimously. Second, approval of secretary's fees. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Jane moves.
I'll second.
Second. Christine seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. No no's. Motion carries. And without absolutely any further ado, council.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Wilson Carroll. I'm Cohen and Wolf, Office of the Town Attorney. We're here to talk about settlement of another appeal today. This is from a application that was before you in October of last year. The applicant was Elizabeth Lana of 33 Longdean Road, and she was asking for two variances. The first was to 5.2.4.3 regarding setbacks. So the proposal was to put an accessory apartment over her existing detached garage. That needed the variance for setbacks, and then it also needed a variance of 6.0 to allow the accessory apartment to be located in a detached structure. So that was appealed by one of the neighbors. The primary concern was that there were two windows on the proposed addition that directly faced that neighbor's property. The parties have reached a settlement in which both of those windows will be removed and replaced by a skylight and on that same side of the building, and a very small adjustment to the roof line, which I understand does not change the footprint or any of the other relevant considerations for the board. But just like last time, because you were on board, I can't enter a stipulated judgment or a settlement without you voting to authorize me to do so. But this is a win for the ZBA. This is your decision that was challenged, and then the settlement, the variances remain granted. So the decision of the board stands. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I would just ask the board to authorize me to enter the settlement.
Does the board have any questions?
Can I just say one thing?
You may.
This was October, so 3 people here didn't vote on that original application. They weren't here. So they're voting today based on just your say so.
Yep. And our recommendation, we were here. I remember it as being relatively without
I voted against.
great fanfare. I know you voted
I
against
voted
it. But I think it's fairly straightforward. The parties have come to a settlement. Who be we to stand in the way of an agreeable arrangement? So I will call for a vote by the board. We can do it individually or by acclamation, but
Motion first.
I'll move that we accept the stipulated judgment in Morber versus Zoning Board of Appeals, 33 Longdean Road. Need the motion to approve.
So moved.
Harold moves.
Second.
Seconded. I'll start.
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
I'm having a day. Do me a favor, turn that around, will you? Thanks. Wow. This is what happens when big guys run too much and drive 90. And I'm a yes. Also, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Then, without any further ado, fanfare, or delay, we're gonna go ahead and move directly into our general meeting. So I am calling to order Zoning Board of Appeals for today, the 6th of June, 2024. First, when a matter is first called, the applicant or his or her agent will present the case. Once the call is complete, originals of any petition should be given to our clerk, Jody. Copies of the petition should be distributed to the board members. After the applicant's presentation, all interested persons in favor of the application will come forward and speak. After those in favor have spoken, those in opposition will be heard. The applicant or his or her agent may then address the comments made by those in opposition. I will remind and reserve my right to keep all comments in opposition or frankly in favor very much on the point. There are things that we are here that we are allowed to hear. There are things that we are not allowed to hear or not to be taken into consideration by this board, such as noise, lighting, social or other factors. And that goes for those presenting and those presenting a position on the applications. Second, this meeting is being taped as required by law. It is important that we be able to understand the tape. Therefore, only one person may speak at a time, and anyone who speaks must come forward, speak into the microphone, and give his or her name and address. We welcome the comments of all interested persons, but we must exercise discretion in making sure that your comments are on the point. And if you are too far off the point, I reserve my right as chair to restrict those comments at any time. Third, applicants and interested persons may remain in attendance after the public hearing for the executive session and to find out what was decided. Or you may call the zoning office tomorrow morning to find out what was decided. It's highly recommendable to stick around because you may learn something. You'll hear our deliberations and gain an understanding of why we took whatever action that we did take. Fourth, if an applicant for a waiver is granted, the waiver is not valid if the notice is not recorded. If the applicant must bring a check in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield to the zoning office on Wednesday or later following the meeting for proper recording of notice of filing. Any waiver involving construction of new dwellings, an addition, or exterior alterations will require an as-built survey prior to an issuance certificate of zoning compliance and a certificate of occupancy. So once again, I just want to make sure that we're clear for all parties present. There are things that this board is here to and is convened to consider. One is the comprehensive zoning plan of the town of Fairfield, and those things contained therein. We're not here to settle neighbor disputes. We're not here because someone else wanted something once upon a time or someone else wants something now. It's each application is considered individually, okay? And it's considered based upon the zoning code. There will be, again, deliberation afterwards, but present your case clearly, concisely, and it will be given its due consideration. So first on our docket, and just in case anybody's here for item number 7, 100 Sturbridge Lane, that item has been continued to the July 11th meeting. So if anybody here has business with that, you can come back in July. So we're going to start with number 1, 75 Church Hill Road, map 26, parcel 219. Petition of Deborah and Joseph Sirico for a variance of zoning regulations section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the side setback for an accessory structure greater than 15 feet in height from 10 feet, currently 3.1 feet, proposing 4.1 feet. Permission to remove an existing garage and rebuild a FEMA compliant 2-story garage with a home office on the second floor. Premises is A zone.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Philip Cerrone. I'm an architect here in Fairfield, Connecticut. My office is at 421 Meadow Street. I'm representing Deborah and Joe Sirico. Deborah is sitting right next to me over here. I would like to make one correction to that, to your reading. It's actually 765, not 75.
Sorry, my fault.
I just want to make sure we have the right.
That's even what it says on the paper.
Is it? Oh, on the agenda
760.
that I have, it says 765, so.
Yeah, 765 Church Hill Road.
I do have a petition I'll hand out that has 9 of the neighbors on it. Here's the original. Note that there was 2 additional neighbors that are not on this because one of them is deceased and nobody's in the house. And the other one is a rental property, and so it's not easy to be able to reach the current owners of the property. But we do have a list of 9 of the neighbors that signed the petition in favor of this application. So as was stated, There's an existing one-car garage on the property. And what we're proposing to do is to demolish the existing garage, build a new 12-foot by 35-foot tandem two-car garage. That's 2 stories tall. And so the variance that we're requesting is a side setback variance to go from 10 feet for a structure, accessory structure over 15 feet tall, to reduce it to 4.1 feet. It's currently at 3.1 feet. And the reason that we are asking for this variance and why the garage is placed where it is because of the fact that where the existing house is only a little bit over 16 feet to the property line. We've squished the garage over to the left as far as we could, but it's not feasible to go any further and still be able to get into the garage. So that gave us the location. One of the reasons that we like to put the home office above the garage, and as you know, people are working from home a lot more, and so the Ciricos could use the space for that. Endeavor does work from home mostly. So we're in a FEMA zone, and so the existing garage is non-conforming from FEMA requirements. When we do this new structure, this would be completely FEMA compliant with flood vents and everything else in the garage, and it also elevates the finished space well above the base flood elevation. The existing lot is 8,550 square feet, and as I'm sure you know, this zone requires 9,375 square feet, so it's an existing non-conforming lot, which also has an impact on us because of the size of the lot. We don't have as much room to work with in the as far as the placement of the garage. The existing garage is slightly smaller than what's there, but it's not any less wide. It's the same width. So as I said, we did slide it over as far as we could to get it as far away from the property line. If it was a 1-car garage, then the 4 feet is what would be the requirement, so we'd be conforming from that perspective. But based on the fact that it exceeds the 15-foot height requirement, is the reason we need the variance. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Anyone on the board want any questions? Jane, go right ahead.
But if you know that if you trigger the requirement to lift everything, if you're over 50% of the appraised value of the house, so does this apply here? Because it's a separate building.
So Matt can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that only the new structure, being that it's not attached, only the new structure has to comply. Am I correct?
Just the primary structure has to comply. Any accessory structure doesn't fall under the cost limit requirements.
So because the existing primary structure is not being touched,
The dollars don't.
that doesn't apply to any of it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Carol, go ahead.
What is the size of square footage of the existing home?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's like 13, just slightly over that.
Small home.
It's a small case.
Standalone.
Okay. Any other questions? With no other questions from the board, is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none in the room, any online? Seeing none, hearing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Seeing none, neither here or online, I'm gonna go ahead and close this hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And number 2, petition of 5151 Park Avenue, map 13, parcel 1. Petition of Sacred Heart University Incorporated for a variance zoning regulation section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the street line setback for a fence greater than 6 feet to within 40 feet and section 29.9 to increase the size of a monument sign from 20 square feet, proposing 42 square feet, and section 29.13 or 29.13 to permit a ground sign without displaying the street number. Permission to replace the existing ground sign with a new non-illuminated sign and new stone pier columns with fence greater than 6 feet. premises is R3 zone. Council?
Chairman, members of the board, Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Saskill Hill Road in Fairfield, Connecticut, here on behalf of the applicant, Sacred Heart University, for an exciting renovation to the main entrance to the university on its main campus, 5151 Park Avenue. Obviously, a very long-standing institutional use in the town. You know, one important thing to know about Sacred Heart, it's going to come up as I go through the presentation. It's a university that's spread across multiple properties in this area. There's some buildings that are across Jefferson Street as well as Park Avenue. So this is something that this renovation is not only dealing with vehicle traffic, but it's also dealing with pedestrian traffic. And I think you'll see the improvements that we made to address that. There's also near that entrance a bus stop, and you may have seen there's like a small little bus shelter that's there in proximity. This is adding another area where people will be able to wait because the shelter it's decent, but it's not huge. So this offers some additional area there for people to wait for the bus. And again, it's an enhancement of this entrance, and as a university, it has students and employees, obviously, but it constantly welcomes people who are not necessarily familiar with the site, people who are visiting, whether it's for a lecture, to visit students, or some other function. So this design's done with those people in mind as well, something that really enhances and makes it clear to people that this is the main entrance into the university. So with that, I'll go through these plans. The other thing I'll note is this is actually part of a multi-phase project. I'm not sure if anybody was on the commission back in 2016, but in 2016, the applicant came before the ZBA for a similar variance at the corner of Jefferson Street and Park Avenue for this same design that we're going to go through and show you here at the entrance, which was approved by the ZBA. And so you may have seen that. I'm going to show you a picture of it. We're basically just now continuing that over, create some uniformity in the look of the streetscape here. But just to show you the plan here, show you the site plan. So this is the main entrance. Here's Park Avenue, obviously. Here's a 2-lane entrance in, 2-lane entrance out. The gatehouse here is existing. And so what we're looking to do is add fencing, and then this structure here, which I'll show you an elevation of it, that's concave, and create this pedestrian area, give it a little bit more breathing room. I'll show you a picture of the existing conditions where you look at the sidewalk, it's just kind of like a simple sidewalk. There's really not that much pedestrian area there. This kind of widens it out, creates this pedestrian area, and then have sidewalks on both sides into the university. Right now, there's no sidewalk here on this northern side. So with this plan, we will be adding a sidewalk there. ADA accessible, a lot more room. I think that's another thing you'll notice when you look at the existing photo is if you're in a wheelchair, you need ADA access, particularly on this corner. It's not there's really not a whole lot of room to work with. This will really open it up. It's got some beautiful landscaping to enhance it visually, but it is opening it up for pedestrians. And then, you know, unfortunately, this day and age, security at schools is an important thing. And what this does is it fits into a larger network of securing the site. So connects the fencing here. This is a fence that blocks, that would block somebody from just being able to enter. It directs everybody into this entrance, and then it continues. So the fence continues down here, comes over here. These are gates. Now, during normal hours, they'll be open. But if for some reason the university needs to be locked down, or there's just some reason that they need to, they can shut these gates. to completely close it off, because the fence continues here, comes around here. You know, and just kind of a matching look on either side, but then the fence keeps running down along Park Avenue. So it has an aesthetic quality to it. It enhances the streetscape, but it also has a utilitarian purpose in that it now secures this entrance. The other thing, just while I'm on this site plan, the other thing we're doing, there's an existing sign. You can see here, it's outlined in red. It's red dash line that's outlined here, faces this way towards Park Avenue. So it's parallel to Park Avenue. We are reducing the size of the nonconformity of that sign. So we're reducing a nonconformity here, shrinking the sign to more conform with your regulations. We are turning it and making it 90 degrees, frankly, make it more functional for people who are traveling up and down Park Avenue. So you can, I mean, this way, I mean, if you're here, you can see it, but you want somebody, particularly for traffic flow, you want somebody that's coming either this way or this way down Park Avenue to be able to see. Again, you and I know where Sacred Heart is. We know where the main entrance is, but for somebody who is visiting, this will just help them be able to identify where they're supposed to go. The other thing, and actually it was I apologize, it was a mistake on the application. We are putting the address on there. So it currently does not have the street number, which is a requirement of your regulation. It wasn't you, Matt, it was me. You're looking at me and I'm like, no, it was me. So it currently doesn't have the street address. We are adding that on there. So we're eliminating that non-conforming.
Before you just move, just
Sure.
because for me, I'm somewhat confused. When you say, it says here, you're gonna increase the size of the monument from 20 square feet, proposing 42.
Right.
But you just said a minute ago that you're
Increase.
can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So your regulations, the requirement is 20 square feet. So this new sign, which I'll show you, it's in a few pages here, is 42 square feet. So under the regulations, we're going from 20 what's permitted to 42, but in reality, for existing conditions, the existing sign, which again I'll show you, is 50 square feet.
Okay,
So we're switching. So
Okay.
I have to call it out on the application as we're asking for a variance from 20 to 42, but in actuality, from existing conditions, we're going from 50 down to 40.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I have a one that shows it. So again, talking about being multi-phases, so this is the corner of Jefferson and Park Avenue. And so you can see this kind of concave structure fence that's already been, that was approved back in 2016. So we're just now mimicking that over on the main entrance. So there's, you know, uniformity in what you're looking at. This is kind of a rendering, overhead rendering of what that will look like. So you can see here are those two structures. They are the ones that require the variances. I'll show you the elevations for them. But these columns get above 6 feet, which requires the variance. But it has, I think, a very pleasing aesthetic look with the way that it increases an elevation there. And you know, you can see it in actuality right there. All right. And again, here's the gatehouse. Here's the sign turned 90 degrees. And then this one, we showed you with the gates closed. So normally during the day, somebody's in the gatehouse, those gates are open. But if a situation should arise, they can close those gates.
Chris, could you step aside?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry, this is a little crowded here. Let me see if I can move this on. Okay. And then obviously just, yeah, tremendous landscaping improvement. That really makes it nice. And you can see there's benches here on each of these corners. So if the bus stop is probably 20 yards away from here. And so if that's full, if the shelters are full, or you want somewhere to sit waiting for the bus, you have this, you know, nice area to sit in. So this is that structure. What you can see here is this red line, dashed red line. That is where the regulations say you can go max to. So this portion, it's really these columns here that are that are going above that. It's part of aesthetic look, it matches what's already there, but it's visually pleasing, but it also has a utilitarian purpose here in connecting to this fence network. In the design, because I know, and by the way, I'm here with representative from Sacred Heart and also Kevin Herrick, who designed this entrance. But they really took a lot of care into the design. It's concave, so it's not like it's a stark wall that's right up front, on the streetscape. And you have these breaks here, these visual breaks here between the columns. So again, it's not just a flat wall. It's something, it doesn't really impose its bulk on the streetscape. Here's another view of it. This is on the right side. So again, the bus stop's like right here. And you can see the gatehouse over there. There's a nice landscaped walk-in for pedestrians. This is the other side. And again, you'll see, I'm gonna hand you the picture, but it's basically the sidewalk comes to an end and then there's nothing going down this way. So now there's gonna be a whole new sidewalk. So here's the existing sign. Pretty basic, right? It's not really that much of a showstopper. So and again, it's turned this way, it's parallel. It's 50 square feet. We're gonna rotate it, and this sign under your regulation 42 square feet is a measurement. So it's coming down 8 square feet. On the side that is parallel to Park Ave, it'll read 5151. So it eliminates that nonconformity. And that's just a rendering view of the sign. Again, if you're coming down Park Ave, you're gonna see that better than if you're gonna see something turn. It is more conforming slightly because it's set back a little bit, it's not by much, but the existing sign is like right here. And so it's coming back and it's getting turned 90 degrees. Yeah, oh, sorry, I keep crowding you. All right, so let me just hand out that picture so you can see. I know you.
CVS out of business now.
Sorry?
You're printing them on.
Well, now I'm printing on paper, I know. I know, it's Google Maps. No, it is fancy.
Yeah.
I know you've been by it a trillion times probably, but just to remind you what it kind of looks there, it's the main entrance. It's not, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It's the main entrance. We all know it's the main entrance. If you were somebody who was visiting for the first time, it's not really, it doesn't stand out that much. This design, you're gonna know, that's the main entrance. This is where I'm supposed to go. This is where I'm gonna go in. So I think it helps a lot for people who are visiting to know that's where they go, rather than trying to drive around to find where the main entrance is. I think this is a substantial upgrade to the entrance. The next I'll just hand out to you. I know kind of the new procedure when you go into decision is to first identify what the hardship is. So I made a little bit of a cheat sheet to kind of go over what our points are for that. So with regards to hardship, as a large educational institution, one of only 2 in town, the applicant is charged with the unique task and challenge of ensuring the security of its students, employees, and guests. The proposed fence and columns are part of a larger network of security measures to protect the school. It serves a functional purpose. It is more beautiful than what's existing, but it serves a functional purpose. Unfortunately, making school safe is important these days and age. This allows us, we can shut the gates and close in the school. In addition, again, as a large educational institution, the subject property experienced significant amounts of traffic, including first-time visitors, different than a lot of other uses, and certainly more intense than a lot of other uses. With people who may not be familiar where to enter campus, this renovation, the proposed changes to the sign will clearly identify this area as the main entrance to visitors. The existing entrance is somewhat nondescript. These features there, I think, pronounce it as the main entrance. Again, there's a unique level of pedestrian traffic to the university. the way it's spread out. There's buildings, 4,000 Park Avenue has one of the students' buildings down there, the healthcare center that's down there. There's the one that's across Jefferson Street. So this provides great pedestrian access into the site. The design, the concave design there creates this nice large area, particularly for folks that are in a wheelchair, and add sidewalks in as well. And again, I think the applicant's taken a lot of care to try to make sure it's not imposing, trying to respect the regulations, that you do not want to impose that size on the streetscape. The concave design, the way the columns are separated to allow you to view into the property, I think it really reduces kind of any visual, overwhelming of the streetscape. On top of that, we have the reduction and elimination of nonconformities, which can serve as a separate basis from hardship for the granting of variances. The existing ground sign's measured at 50 feet. This proposed one's 42, so reducing it by 8 square feet. We're also turning it 90 degrees, which I think, again, is another thing that reduces its visual bulk. And the existing sign does not display the street address, which is non-conforming to the regulations. The proposed sign does display the street address, thereby eliminating the non-conformity. As far as conformity and impact to the neighborhood, the proposed entry and particularly the fence and columns exactly match the design at the corner of Jefferson Street and Park Avenue, which came before the board for variances, was approved with the same variances. And that creates a uniformity of character and design throughout the university streetscape. It enhances security, it controls the traffic flow, which is obviously a benefit to the neighborhood. And then the only other thing I'll mention is that the property that actually lies directly across the street from the main entrance is owned by the university as well. So with that, happy to take any questions you might have.
Go ahead, Jane.
The application says that it's non-illuminated, but then what happens at night? Is there?
There's site poles alongside the entry drive.
Yeah, Carmelo, you gotta identify
So,
yourself, sorry.
Carmelo Cicero, Associate VP of Sacred Heart Construction Operations. So there are existing light poles that currently flank the one sidewalk as you drive in. Now with the egress sidewalk that's gonna be coming out, it's gonna be light poles there as well to match.
There's no.
But they're
light-
existing.
Right, but there's no light shining on the address?
I believe there's a ground light.
There's a ground light.
That's added to it.
Yeah, there's a small uplight out
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
it's landscape lighting that uplights.
And then I have another question. In the photograph here, you have banners and flags. Are there gonna be additional banners and flags?
No, so those banners and flags are on the existing light poles,
Yeah.
those will be just reinstalled.
So they will be there.
They'll still be there, but there won't
Yeah,
be.
but nothing new.
more, yeah, nothing
Okay,
new.
and then the flag poles just are there.
The flag poles are actually in the far distance in the back.
Yeah, they're on the property.
Yeah, those are, well,
They're
they're way,
behind-
they're
oh, they're
way back
behind the
in the
gatehouse.
property.
yeah, the flags they have in the light poles will remain.
Okay, so the banners will just.
Nothing new.
Banners don't qualify as signs?
Not unless they're permanently placed.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you tell me, you write that the fence, it has to be greater than 6 feet to within 40 feet. What is it exactly?
Well, so there's a setback where you can't have a fence.
So
This
close.
is the 40-foot line. So you, under the regulations, you can have greater than 6 feet within 40 feet. So this line right here, this dashed line
Yeah.
right here is the 40-foot setback. So because this is here, instead of being back here, it requires a
So
variance.
how much further is it than what's that measurement?
From the street line to here, it's probably 10, 15 feet, I think, right here, from Kevin, from here to here. Do you know what that might be?
Street line.
From the street line to,
halfway is 40, so, I mean, halfway is 20, so
Yeah.
go
So
right in the
this
middle,
20,
that's
yeah.
20, probably right in
Yeah,
the
20
middle of
right
it,
there.
and then-
And then you mentioned on one of your drawings that the fence is a part of a gate system, a security system.
Well-
Is it all intertwined as one system?
yeah, so there's fencing that runs down here and there's fencing that runs down here. So this, again, so this comes in, connects here, comes across here. There's a door here for pedestrians, but that can close. this can close, this can close, this can
But is
close.
those gates part of the fence or is it a separate?
Well, there's no variance needed for the gates,
Right, but
because
I'm
they're
just-
set back enough,
But
yeah.
the gate, but the fence you need a variance for?
Just this portion of it.
Oh, just that portion,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, this, once you get past this line, then you don't have that 6 foot
Okay.
limit. So this is all compliant.
Okay, last question. You write that you need a variance for a new stone pier column.
Right.
And can you show me that one more
Sure.
time?
Yeah, so
And you need a variance for that because it's too close.
it's within the 40 feet, correct, and it's over 6 feet.
And how
So-
tall is it?
So right to the,
8 feet to the lower one, 10 foot 11 to the top.
okay, 8 feet, so 8 feet to this one right here, 10 feet 11 to this one. Creates, a nice visual appearance there. It matches what's the other one. And, again, there's breaks here to try to reduce that impact.
Okay.
But it's a substantial, it's a substantial fence. Again, I think it serves as well as just proclaiming, whatever you want, the term you want to use, but that this is the main entrance.
And I just, through the chair, I think we can ask Matt a question now. In this part, I just wanna understand, maybe this is for later and you could tell me that. Is there schools have separate regulations in our zoning than other commercial buildings?
I don't believe so.
This is in a residential zone.
So everything here, they're following residential zoning
There's a
requirements?
section in their regulations for fences and for signs and fences for residential in
And-
regard to height.
And that's what, those variances are based on residential
Correct.
requirements, okay.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because that's another reason for hardship.
Yeah.
It's a
not.
large institutional use, but it's in a residential zone. I kind of agree with you. You would think for something like a university, it would have separate standards.
Yeah.
But we're operating under the same standards you would have for a single
Okay.
family house.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill, did you still have a question?
Regarding the lighting again, is there going to be sufficient lighting for the people who might be sitting on those benches in those curved areas? Are the light poles sufficient to provide nighttime illumination?
Yeah, so there's existing street lighting along Park Ave that we're not touching, so that currently exists.
So for safety reasons at night, people who might be lingering there,
Correct.
it will be illuminated.
And as Chris had mentioned about the 15-20 yards to due south of that, there's an existing bus shelter there. This would just enhance some additional seating.
Thank you.
And you'll be out in the open versus inside the bus shelter if need be.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, hearing none from the board. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the application, either online or in the room? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none, hearing none, we close the application.
Thank you.
You. On to number 3. 150 Stroll Rock Common, map 121, parcel 98B. Petition of Amy Selter for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the sideline setback for an accessory structure greater than 100 square feet from 25 feet, proposing 12.3 feet. Permission to construct a 12 by 14 shed. Premises is AA zone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jared Selter, I'm co-owner of the property and reside at that address. We're requesting a variance for the side setbacks for a storage shed in that area. The reason we selected that area, in part, in the front of the property towards the street, there's not a lot of area that falls beyond the front setbacks. In addition, our septic system, including tank and leaching fields, are all throughout the front area, making that area not viable. As we get further back from the towards the back of the property begins to slope, making construction somewhat challenging. In addition, we face the same side setbacks virtually throughout the area. In addition, as you get to the very back of the property, we abut up onto town-owned property, which are town-owned wetlands. We have very tall trees in that area, exceeding 50 to 100 feet tall that are town-owned, that we don't have any control over. We're not allowed to manage them at all. And, you know, I have pictures on my phone. If people are interested in seeing them of multiple tree falls over the course of the last several years, crushing our fence, destroying some of the existing areas, including the fence around the pool equipment and other greenery in that area, making it not viable for us to be able to safely put a storage shed or other material in that area, as it does tend to fall on a regular basis. So for those reasons, that's the reason we selected this one area. We have received signatures and approvals from all our contiguous neighbors who have all signed off. That paperwork was supplied to the zoning board. Matt, these are the contiguous neighbors in the area who have all approved. The plans are included. It's a very simple shed. It will not be plumbed. There will be no electricity. It is a simple storage shed in that area. Most of the area that is between the two property lines is dense brush. There's not, it's really very difficult to see. Part of the other reasons we put it there is because it will minimize any visibility from other areas, although it will be a shed very similar in design to the house. So it'll have a uniformity in that area, but it'll be fairly shielded from surrounding properties.
So,
Yes, that's all.
any questions from the board?
I can't tell from the site plan, the doors are going to face which side, the street?
Yeah, if you stroll, if you could, Matt, if you wouldn't mind, it's gonna be facing, it won't be facing our side, or the neighbors at all, it'll be facing in towards our own property, yes.
On the 14-foot side, that's where the doors are?
No, 12.
So I see a generator right
Generators on the opposite side of the fence. May I go to the
Yeah, come on up.
screen? Sorry. So the front of the property is here, back of the property is here, home is here. So the doors will be over here, generators, this is where the generator is over here.
There's the transformer,
Transformers over there.
generator's that other little one.
Generators right there. There's nothing.
So the doors face the fence, right towards the.
No, fence is here.
The back interior.
So they're gonna be a couple windows here, nothing here. Doors are here facing in towards, you know,
Isn't there a metal fence right there?
right where?
Line with the
The
circle.
line with the
line
zeros.
circle,
Right here,
Nope, down,
To the right?
right?
yep,
Yeah,
that.
that's a metal
No,
fence.
there is no fence there. I don't know that, there is not a fence in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none and hearing none from the board. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of this application or online? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone in the room or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none. Hearing is closed. Thank you very much. Number 4, 475 Lockwood Road, map 47, parcel 117. Petition of Roshan Ulapali and Vipra Sharma for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 40 feet, currently 45.7 feet, proposing 36.6 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15% and 30%, currently 18% and 29.7%, proposing 20.2% and 31.2%. Permission to construct a one-story addition and front porch. Premises is R3 zoned.
Correct. Good afternoon, board. My name is Ken Carney. I represent the owner. I own Baybrook Remodelers, 824 Boston Post Road, West Haven. Our project is to construct a living room and foyer, an open front porch addition across the front of the house. The overall dimensions are 10 feet 8 inches by 41 feet 2 inches. The addition will be 3.5 feet over the required front setback of 40 feet. Most of the addition will be in the required setback. Also, coverage for the maximum building lot coverage and maximum building floor area will be over the allowed requirements. For these variance proposals, the change we believe is minimal. Our hardship is that this is an existing non-conforming property in an R3 zone. Our lot is 15,510 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required. The lot is over 5,000 square feet undersized. This is a small addition that would not be required. Its lot coverage and the floor area is properly sized. Our proposal would not negatively affect the neighborhood. We believe it would enhance the neighborhood, and we actually have signatures from all of the various homeowners about the property. Any questions?
Okay, board, any questions? Go ahead, Jean. I don't even have to look.
So in the regulations, you can have an open front porch extend into the front setback by 10 feet. So that part's on the home, so it's really just the living room,
The small addition, foyer addition, yeah.
not the foyer. The foyer is behind, it's just the living room. So did you consider just not doing that part? You could have had the porch, but just not push the living room out that extra
So-
feet,
Our living space,
if possible.
it's certainly possible, but I think it ruins the design.
That's really my question.
So what happens is we have a flush beam going in, we're extending this room out.
Right.
10 feet 6 inches. If we bring that back another 3 feet, it really squishes the use of that room.
But it's an existing room now.
It's an existing, not correct.
House.
What are we using that room for now?
It's like a formal room.
It's just not big enough, right?
It's not big.
Right, but you could, I mean, if that front wall could line up with the front wall.
Well, now the porch would not share that common wall. That would look a little awkward from the street as well, I think.
No, I'm just saying it's possible. Okay, thank you. That's my only questions.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none and hearing none. Are there any folks in the room who would like to speak in favor of the application, either here or online? Seeing none and hearing none, are there any folks in the room who would wish to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, the hearing will be closed. Thank you very much. Number 5, 1499 Post Road, map 180, parcel 86, petition of RK Fairfield. I don't know if that's RK Fairfield 1. LLC for a variance of the zoning regulation section 28-6-12 to reduce the required parking spaces by 31. Permission to establish a restaurant premises is CDD.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Council.
Members of the board, for the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm an attorney here at Fairfield. I'm pleased to be representing the owner of the property and the applicant. This is an application for a variance of section 28.6.12 and establishing a parking variance at 1499 1519 Post Road. That's the Fairfield Center building, as you're familiar with. And the restaurant that we're going to talk about in a minute will be located, subject to your approval, in the first floor of the building in space formerly occupied by Wells Fargo Bank and a retail tenant. The restaurant, which we'll give you a little feel for in a moment, is going to be known as the Gansevoort Grill. It's conceived and to be operated by Nick Racanelli Sr. and Jr. They're both here somewhere. There they are in the front row. They are Fairfield residents, longtime Fairfield residents, and their imprint is already very much on our downtown as they are the conceptual finders of both and operators of both Moto, Sinclair, Sophie's, and Malibu. All of which I think we agree has added a very unique vibrance to the center design district. So the next step in the chapter, if you will, if you could post those photos that we have just of the interior. I don't want to stray too far afield, but I do want to give you some sense of the approach that the Racanellis, as evidenced by the other restaurants that they operate here in the downtown, bring to their conception of restaurants and also their operations. So these are just some photographs, which Matt, you can scroll through, of the interior design that has been initiated and will in fact be implemented subject to your approval. What the restaurant will do is offer in the heart of the downtown center another distinctive dining experience. I go into greater detail in my narrative. I won't do that to you now. The history, of course, of the meatpacking district in Gansevoort Street are very much alive here in terms of the choice of materials. The menu itself, I don't want to make everyone hungry, but as I point out, is going to celebrate the art of grilling, prime beef cuts, perfectly seared ribeyes, mouth-watering New York strips, along with a diverse and creative selection of sushi, raw fish, and grilled delicacies. It's going to be an exciting restaurant. It's going to be a restaurant that is, again, going to increase the vitality and interest in our downtown. And we'd hope very much that you will approve the application for the reasons that I'm going to enunciate. Getting into the details, the restaurant, as I said, will occupy the former bank space and a small area of retail comprising a total of 4,585 square feet. The total patron floor area will be 2,150 square feet. The prior uses, the bank use and the retail use, accounted for a credit of 23 spaces. The square footage of the patron floor area here would yield, under the current regulations, which will be an important matter for me to discuss with you, a technical requirement of 54 spaces. So the net variance that we seek before you today is 31 spaces. Now, at the outset here, we wanted to make sure that as a practical matter, we could justify to ourselves and to the board the fact that we had more than ample parking to support this restaurant. Based upon existing parking, we have in this complex a 281 space parking lot. So what we did, parking garage, excuse me. So what we did was we retained SLR International to conduct a parking study. That parking study was submitted with the application. It's dated April 22, 2024. With us today virtually is Mr. Neil Olinsky. He's on a business trip out of town, but he is here. And I'm going to ask Neil to briefly review the methodology and the conclusions relative to the parking study, which is part of the application. Neil.
Yes. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Neil, just give us your name and address for your business, please.
Sure thing. For the record, Neil Olinsky with SLR Consulting. We have offices in New Haven, Cheshire, and Glastonbury in Connecticut. Thanks for your time today. So as you heard, we worked on the parking study for this. I think whoever's controlling the screen, if you could scroll down, I don't know if we have it, but scroll down to figure 2. It would be a few pages down. So figure 2, I think best summarizes one more actually.
This one right here?
Yep. That's the one. Thank you. So figure 2 best summarizes our report, our traffic study, our parking study rather, really in one visual. We did, and really what our finding, to cut to the chase, our finding is the parking is expected to work just fine. There is enough parking at the parking garage to accommodate the proposed restaurant based on what we found. And what we did to start is, like at many studies, we want to see what's going on today. So we had some parking counts done. on a Friday and a Saturday. We had parking counts done from late morning through the evening on a Friday and Saturday back in April 5th and 6th. We had those counts done to see how many cars are currently parking in the parking garage. And what we found is that at the busiest time, there were still 113 approximately empty parking spaces in the parking garage. That busiest time was the Friday around 2-3 o'clock. And after that, the number of parked cars in the garage, it lowered through the rest of the day. And it was actually lower on Saturday, throughout the day on Saturday as well. So that peak parking of the existing garage is essentially the blue columns that you see in the what we're labeling there the shared parking profile. That's the existing parking demands in the garage. So our next step is we wanted to know, well, how much new parking might this restaurant add or generate and add? So like many of our traffic and parking studies, we looked at industry data published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. They have a book called their Parking Generation Manual, which is a compilation of statistics, essentially, and parking demands for different types of land uses. For this kind of restaurant, the stats would indicate that it would a restaurant of this type would peak, as might be expected, around dinner time with around 90 parked cars on a typical Friday, say. Not too different on a Saturday, which is good. Obviously, they'll have some lunch demand as well, but restaurant parking is expected to peak around dinner time through the evening at about 90 parked cars, and that is represented in the green columns. So when you stack the parking from the restaurant that we're estimating to be added on top of the existing parking, you can see that there's still expected to be plenty of empty parking in the parking garage throughout the day. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. This 90-car parking estimate, which again is the peak dinner time parking, it might actually be high. It might be a high estimate, given the fact that these days not a lot, but a good amount of people use Uber Lyft, so they're not going to be parking on site. And we're in downtown Fairfield, so some people might just simply walk here instead of drive and park here. So that is our parking study in a nutshell, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
And Neil will remain. Go ahead, Jane, you have a question, but Neil will be here during the course of the meeting.
Hi, is that two-story parking garage public parking or is it owned by the building?
It's owned by the building.
So the only people who are allowed to park there are tenants?
Correct.
And their customers?
Correct. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit, but yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So just a couple of summary points without being redundant. I know you've all reviewed the parking study. Again, we have a parking garage for 281 spaces. It is proprietary to the building. The report, as Neil just emphasized, shows that the parking demand during Friday and Saturday, the peak times, are 168 cars on Friday and 62 on Saturday. And that equates to a peak parking utilization in that peak time of only 60% of the available spaces on Friday and 22% of the available spaces on Saturday. With regard to the Saturday utilization, the entire second floor of this building is occupied by Merrill Lynch. They are closed on Saturday. They are closed on evenings. And that's consistent, I think, with the mixed-use nature of the building and the fact that it is located in a very walkable downtown area that is also serviced by the train station and other transit options. So the other thing that Neil mentioned, which is very significant, and the Racanellis know this firsthand, just gonna shut this door. I'm back. Is the impact on restaurant operations as with Lyft and Uber. And we submitted an article to your record, which was very enlightening there. We estimate that we get upwards of 25% of our patrons in the evening via these ride services. Those points are well made, and others that I won't dramatize in a letter that you received from Mark Barnhart on behalf in his capacity as the Economic Development Director of the town. That he emphasizes in that letter that in addition to all the other factors, there's additional public parking immediately available on the street and of course the lot on Sherman Green. But that's sort of superfluous in my mind because of the significant parking garage that we have here. And as the study confirms, it's underutilization even during peak times when coupled with the restaurant operation, which in its busiest times will be in the evening. The other thing that I think is important is that with the recent increases in housing downtown, which again, I think is a very positive thing in terms of the vibrancy of the downtown, we see many more people walking to the restaurants, be they at luncheon or evening dinner times. And the lunch clientele specifically, again, based upon the experiences of the Racanellis at their 4 other restaurants in the center, there's a very substantial number, even you might say a well majority of local professionals and other people who are working nearby in the center and therefore will patronize the restaurant by way of walking. So in summary, with regard to the parking study, the peak times of parking demand in the parking garage are going to occur on 2 to 3 o'clock on Fridays. And even then, it's approximately 70% of the occupancy. And that happens to be a time when the restaurant is not particularly active or open. So before I talk about the legal underpinnings of the application, I do think it's important to point out that as a matter of function, which is important to us, and a matter of considerations that the board has to make in your statutory authority, we have an abundance of parking. And I'll elaborate on why I think that's legally important in a minute. Before I do that though, just to kind of finish up the overview, Mr. Al Kleban is here today. Al, do you want to say a few words on behalf of RK? Mr. Kleban, you know, is not the only person, but he's a primary visionary of this downtown evolution over the last 3 or 4 decades. And having you with us here today, I don't know if you'd want to say anything or leave it to your. Sure, whatever. Great, man.
Well, I promise you, I won't speak for more than 5 minutes.
They try to make me promise that, but I don't do it.
He hasn't passed yet.
I've been admonished not to keep on talking.
Just your name and address, boss.
My name is Albert Kleban, and I'm a resident of Fairfield. And I am married to Alida Kleban, who's seated over there. And we were both born in this area. We were married 70 years ago in Fairfield, Connecticut. And as a matter of fact, this is our 70th year. So we're going to celebrate our 70th anniversary in that restaurant. 94. My wife, I shouldn't tell her age. But she's going to be 93.
Wow.
And we've been in the school system here in this area, and we've lived here all our lives. And our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and my father was born in this area, and my mother and father were married here. So our roots and our DNA is really in our heart and in our minds. And I must tell you that I think about Fairfield and Fairfield Center all the time. I think about when someone tells me, well, we have this tenant. the first thing that comes to my mind is, it's good for the town. What is it gonna look like? And what will it really do? And that brings me back to think about the theater. That theater remained fallow. No one was interested in buying it. Nobody wanted to take the risk of reconstructing and a substantial financial risk, but we did. And fortunately, Sacred Heart came along with us, and the job that they have done is really incredible. And there are so many people I see in the course of being involved here saying, went to the theater last night. It's fantastic. And you probably heard the same thing. And they have a program for the summer that's going to be really outstanding. Fairfield is so fortunate to have Sacred Heart University, Fairfield University, the University of Bridgeport. There are very few towns in the United States which has all that what Fairfield offers. It's the envy of many towns. And we get calls from the town fathers and mothers. Why can't you come to this area or that area, and so forth and so on? Well, we do. We are involved in 10 states now. There's no state, there's nobody, no town that strikes our chord the way this town does. It's part of our lives. And I hope that you will think about what that restaurant could do for our town. Fidelity is expanding. Merrill Lynch is expanding. Morgan Stanley, they're all here, and many of their patrons are pedestrians. And this restaurant is going to be so much more for them. And so I just wanted to assure you that we're behind it all the way. And this is not going to be something that somebody's going in and flip it over and make a profit. No, they're going to be there like they've been there consistently with Sophie's, Sinclair, and Molto. And this family is the salt of the earth. No, I'll cut it short. Thanks for
I would
listening.
never cut you off. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
You know, as we turn to the legal underpinnings, you know, it's a great, comments are great. I mean, this restaurant is just part of harmonizing and complementing the center design district that is so energized and so vibrant downtown. And as I'll get into in a minute without being pandering, this board and your predecessors deserves a great deal of credit for that. Indeed, you guys, as I'll get into a little bit, were the visionaries. Turning to that thought and the town plan of conservation and development, which I think is an interesting way to start our legal analysis. The town plan of conservation and development promulgated by the TPZ in 2016 included among its policies for the center area, quote, consider revising the required parking for restaurant uses in this area and into that required for retail. For some reason, that didn't happen. And you kept having to deal with that situation and the practicality of that situation by way of considering, as I'll talk about in a minute, variance applications for restaurants in the downtown center. But it appears at this point in time that the Planning and Zoning Commission is committed somewhat to that, in that the current plan of conservation and development draft, which was promulgated in February of 2024, indicates that they should, quote, explore amending the parking requirements for all retail uses, including restaurants, to 4 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet. Hopefully they will do that. But right now, we're here in June of 2024, and we have an opportunity to establish this restaurant here and now. And that still brings us back before you. If 6 months from now, they codify what they indicate to be their intention in the plan of conservation and development as a matter of policy, then this restaurant wouldn't require any variances. But it does now, and it should only be granted if you're satisfied that we have sufficient parking and that the statutory standards, which I'm going to review in a minute, are met. This application, however, the reason I say that is consistent with the goals as set forth in the Plan of Conservation and Development of 2016 and the draft document of 2024. And as you know, that is legally relevant to your consideration. And it's important that I think the board, the commission does move in that direction, because at least and clearly with regard to this matter, as a practical matter, this variance is highly technical in nature. And that the 281 parking spaces that are provided in the parking garage are and will continue to be far more than adequate, as confirmed by the parking study, to meet the needs of our existing tenants and the proposed new restaurant. As I said, especially in the evening hour, which will be the primary hours of operation of the restaurant, as confirmed by practical common sense and the parking study, there'll be overwhelming parking available, in that the retail and office tenants will be closed. There is no precedent relative to what you do. You have to look at each case on a case-by-case basis. But this proposal is consistent with prior approvals established with regard to the granting of parking variances for restaurant uses in the center. And that is relevant because in those matters, as I'll elaborate on in a minute, you've made a clear analysis of where the hardship lies in order to grant these variances. The vitality of this important economic area in our community and the entire town of Fairfield has benefited very substantially due to the vibrancy and activity created by these various restaurants, which have operated successfully in downtown, including the restaurants of my client. And as I said again, without being pandering, there's a lot of people responsible for what we have now in the downtown center, and how it is in fact the envy of so many communities in Fairfield County and throughout the state. The Klebans deserve credit, the Racanellis deserve credits, but again, this board deserves credit, because long before articulations in the Plan of Conservation and Development were made, you looked at this through your statutory standards and you said, yes, there is a basis here, a proper basis for granting these variances, and you've done that. And you've done that with regard to numerous restaurants in the downtown. Central, Post Road Tavern, 55 Degrees, Archie Moore's, Quattro Pazzi, Avellino's, now Cibus, Brickwalk Tavern, Oceana, currently Gabagool, Wild Rice, currently Lantern Point Taverna, and the Colony Grill. The Colony Grill with a variance that was granted for 33 parking spaces. So, as we move to the conclusion, they all go, please, Mr. Cleveland, make him sit down. Let's look at the legal standards here. First, you have to establish that there's what we propose will not substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan. Restaurant uses are permitted use in this zone in accordance with section 12.3.14. Numerous restaurants exist in the immediate area. Why is that important? Because the Egan case says that if the use to be allowed under a variance is consistent with other uses in the area and or is a permitted use in the zone, then the first part of the statutory test is met. In addition, as I pointed out, our proposal is consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, both the existing and the proposed draft. And the modification of parking requirements for restaurant uses has been endorsed by the Plan of Conservation and Development. And clearly, there'll be no substantial negative impact with regard to the comprehensive zoning plan based upon the past history with regard to restaurants in the downtown center that have benefited from variances that you have previously granted. So not only have we no adverse consequences resulting from these previously granted variances, but also the downtown business area and the entire town of Fairfield has substantially benefited with a very vibrant and exciting downtown area. So let's talk about hardship. When you looked at all of these other restaurant variances, numbering more than, I think, 17, 18 over the last decade and a half or 2 decades, the hardship basis has been found to be established due to the fact that the board has repeatedly found that the non-conforming nature of the downtown properties in regard to on-site parking does provide a proper basis for a finding of hardship to justify a variance with regard to the imposition of current parking regulations on this existing non-conforming area. And that is found to justify legally the granting of the parking variances that we asked for and that you've previously granted, provided you're satisfied that the first part of the statutory test is met. And that's why the parking study and all the other factors that I've elaborated on. That finding was consistent with the fact and why the P&Z, I think, is looking at amending their regulations, in that the essence of the hardship arises from the fact that the parking regulations established currently pursuant to Section 28 require a cumulative analysis of parking requirements for each individual use established in a large shopping or office complex like we have here, such as this one. And there is no provision in the regulations with regard to consideration of comparable periods of peak operating demand between diverse tenant uses. So a restaurant has to be treated the same way as an office use, and a restaurant has to be treated the same way as a retail use. Whereas in this particular instance, we'll be the only ones home during evening hours when we're operating with our 281 space parking garage sitting, waiting for our customers. And you have previously looked at these types of issues and find that the application of the current parking regulations to these unique situations involving downtown center properties does in fact establish a practical and realistic basis for a finding of hardship. And the board's prior decisions, as I've said in this regard, are consistent with the case law that I cite at page 7 of my material. Those cases stand for the proposition that you've made a proper analysis there. So, in conclusion, and subject to answer any questions you might have, when I came to Fairfield 58 years ago, my recollection is there were 2 restaurants in the downtown center. There was the Center Restaurant, which is now the Post Road Tavern,
And Cindy's.
and Cindy's. Well,
Mary's
Cindy's
Diner.
Cindy's was a diner where I was most Saturday mornings. And there was also Sully's, which is now part of the Quattro Pies. Sully's was interesting. You could get a hamburger like you never saw before for 50 cents, but that's another story. And all the other towns, not all the other towns, but some of our sister towns, especially adjacent towns, whose names begin with a W, sort of look down their nose at Fairfield. We are the center of the restaurant trade. You leave us alone. And then over the last decade, because of the Clevelands, because of the Racanellis, and because of you, they have felt their lunch was eaten, no pun intended. And now they are scrambling to come back, and have, to their credit. But we started the movement. And we have now, as Mr. Cleveland said, I believe one of the most unique and most vibrant downtown centers anywhere in the state. And this is another opportunity to continue that ascendancy and vibrancy, and do so at a perfect location because we are blessed with this large, generally underutilized parking garage. And we hope, as you have seen fit to do in the past, much to the credit of downtown Fairfield, you will see fit to approve this application and allow us, meaning the Clevelands, the Racanellis, and you, to continue to pridefully ensure the vibrance and excitement that is so unique to our downtown. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions? I had a feeling.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one is, did you say this garage, this parking area had an upstairs? It's a 2-story. So
The
could,
building, the parking garage is 2 stories, and so is the building.
yeah, so Well, maybe I'll go back to my first question.
Okay.
The second question first. Can you tell me all the tenants of 1499 Post Road and their hours?
I cannot, but I'm sure there's somebody in the room who can. Ken, do you wanna just come up and deal with?
Question is what again?
How, all of our tenants in 1499-1519 and what their hours of operations are. Let's come to the mic.
Specifically the tenants that have right to use the garage, the
Well,
parking.
all the
Okay,
tenants.
Just to make sure that's
Correct.
clear, okay.
Okay, so I'd start on the second floor because that's easiest, right?
Start with name and address for the
Sure,
record.
Lee Ban, 9 Banks Drive, west of Connecticut. The question was which.
I wanna know, I would like to know the tenants, their names and their hours.
Sure, I'll try it.
Okay.
The second floor is tenanted entirely right now by Merrill Lynch.
Okay.
They have some 25,000 square feet. There are no restrictions on their hours.
Okay.
However, that office is typically vacated. I'm sorry, let me take a step back. There is one other tenant in residence, and that is the Higgins Real Estate Group. And that's about 6,000 square feet. Neither of these tenants have any restrictions on their hours of operations. However, the average day sees the offices emptied out before 5:30. On the first floor, going from right to left as you look at the building, the fish market, Nordic Fish is on the right. Again, no restrictions. However, they don't really do any nighttime business. They don't open until 11 o'clock. To the left of that is the Fairfield University Bookstore on 3 floors because they do have space in the basement, about 24,000 square feet in total. Their busiest hours are during the middle of the day. Typically, their mornings will only be occupied by people going to the Starbucks, which is a licensee in that location on the first floor. Very little traffic at all in the evening. I believe they close most evenings at 9 o'clock. To the left of that, we have
Loft. That closes at 6.
Exactly. That's about 6,000 square feet. To the left of that, we have In the Mood. She goes in between? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the Mood and they close at 6.
In the Mood,
And then
Chico's still there?
No, Chico's is gone. Okay. So it's Banana Republic. And then what's after that? Is that closed business?
To the left of that is Wells Fargo.
That's where this.
Okay.
Which is where
This
this
is gone. Okay, I'm sorry, I was just having a hard time getting it straight in my head. Okay,
To the left of that is Chico's.
okay,
Oh, it is Chico's still there.
And to the left of that is the jewelry store.
okay.
To the left of that is Apricot Lane.
Yeah.
And then at the end is Beehive.
We forgot Park Lane.
I did forget Park Lane, I'm sorry. That
Yeah,
was-
the glasses.
And all of these businesses that you mentioned, the retails, they, I think, all close around 6 o'clock at night.
Correct.
Okay. And then the second question, now that I understand this, so I know how to get into that parking garage by going through after the deli?
Take a right at the end of after the deli on Sherman Street.
Well, no, I cut through the back.
You can cut through the back.
So how do you get to the other levels? Just because I don't.
Well, you have to come in off Sherman Street.
Okay.
Sherman Street.
And then you go up.
There's an entrance and an exit to the lower level off of Sherman Street. And then immediately as you're facing the building, to the left of that, there's a ramp
Oh,
that takes you up to the second floor.
all right, thank you.
Trying to get the inside track to
Well,
get there for your
I just-
reservation.
No, because I just needed to understand it in my head, like I was just having a hard time, because I lived here my whole life and I never knew you could go up.
Yeah.
And to get down from there, is it all walkable? Is that how people get up and
So
down?
there are 2 staircases.
Oh, there is, okay.
Each corner of the building.
That's cool.
And then a lobby with both a staircase and an elevator.
And do you also own the businesses behind like the Newtown Medi Spa? Is that another client?
Newtown Medi Spa is in the back of the building only a tenancy. Their hours, I believe, are 10 in the morning until about 7 o'clock at night. And their parking is in the rear.
Okay, great, thank you.
Harold?
I have 2 questions. What is the planned occupancy of the restaurant?
Meaning
How many people?
State approved occupancy.
Yes.
we've got a patron floor area, I think, of 2,100 square feet. We did submit a floor plan.
How many people?
It's coming in at around 125 to 130.
As if we're gonna answer, we have to go up to the front. Introduce ourselves if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks again. So what would I guess the question that the commissioner has is what would the seating?
How many covers?
Yeah.
We're about 100, I'm Nick Racanelli from here in Fairfield, Connecticut. We're between 125 and 130, kind of depending on the comfort level of the bar.
Including bar patrons.
Including the bar patrons, yes.
And the other question, how is access to parking currently controlled?
First come, first served.
Yeah,
Right now it's first come,
there's no,
first served.
there's no security with, no, so the answer is it's open.
So, and so patrons will be able to park wherever there's availability.
Patrons could park, on the street if they have that, if not, certainly in the parking garage, lower or upper level. They could park if they choose to and wanna mosey around in the turning green, which as Mr. Barnhart points out, has got significant capacity, especially in evening hours. But our focus in our presentation today has been the property in question and we therefore focused on the 281 spaces on site. And that's where our customers will be welcome to park. And there is access from the parking garage to the space where the restaurant's gonna be. So they can go directly from the parking garage, into the restaurant.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one quick.
Jane, go ahead.
Do you have to go before P and Z?
Yeah.
for change of use?
Change of use, yeah.
That will happen after this meeting.
Yeah, come here first, but then we would have to go to P and Z for change of use.
And just one from me on the parking study. Were the two now not existing business, were the two businesses being replaced in operation when the parking study was done? Or were those businesses previously closed?
In other words, when they did the parking study in April, was Wells Fargo and the retail tenant still there? They were not.
They were not. Okay.
Thank you all very much for your kind attention.
Seeing no more questions from the board, I'm assuming. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to further speak in favor of this application, either online or in the room? We already had the one we only really need. Is there anyone in the room or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, I'll close this application.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're off to number 6. We'll let the room clear a little. Quicker hands than me. Thank you. Okay, number 6, 348 Sunny Home Drive, map 139, parcel 394. Petition of Maria Eberl for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15 and 30%. Currently 15.83% and 29.9%, proposing 17.4% and 30.98%. Permission to construct a balcony. Premises is R3 zone. Name and address. Thank you very much.
My name is George. My wife, Maria Eberly, owns the home. Louder, please. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so this is like the best I could do.
It's okay.
I represent my wife, Maria Eberly. She's supposed to be doing this, but I think she's preoccupied with a client call, so I'm yes. We're looking to construct kitchen and a outdoor porch that we have. We need to put, we're putting this project together right now, the kitchen and the balcony, swimming pool. It's currently being built. And as we were putting it together, we realized that the outdoor kitchen that we're putting together, we have some sort of issue with one of the windows against the house. We tried to resolve it within the parameters of the regulations without it was very difficult because of the position of a window. And this is what we came up with. We need to put a roof over this outdoor kitchen. And it has to be at a certain elevation. Well, the roof is gonna go there. Why don't we just make it an outdoor balcony that we could walk on? That is, Matt, I don't know if you have the other drawings that show what we're proposing.
This one you're looking for, or would this one be better?
Yeah, that one would be good. That's, so if you look to the left side, that is the balcony that we are proposing. Right over there, and then it comes around the other side to make an L shape. And it's gonna be a covering over that area. And really all we're asking for is, it's gonna be there anyway. Why don't we have the opportunity to use it as a balcony? Just a bit. I also have signatures from the neighbors, the contiguous neighbors. They've all signed on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This one, is that original?
Just good color copies.
Thank you.
Looks like my wife is still muted. I don't think she's gonna do this, so. That's really good.
All right, I'm gonna let Jane ask her question.
I'm very confused because your application is asking for permission to build a pool house.
That was a previous application we had.
That's what we're submission. That,
No, that's not what the call was.
No, it's
no,
no, it's not that.
You upload the
I'm looking online on.
online.
The actual
I got it right here.
permission to construct a pool.
Construct a 6-foot shaded balcony.
How come I get it if
What are you looking at? The
48 Sunny Home.
May
you looking at the
16th,
notice of filing from the first one? Notice of filing is
Right.
approved from the first time. That's not the application. That's the application there. You go up a little bit higher.
That's what I need.
That's right there. on the
Okay, so
bottom.
what's the,
The call is for the balcony.
so the pool status and a piece of paper.
That was everything. That was
Oh.
approved by this board.
That was okay.
That was a
that's
previous
fine.
one. Yep, that was included as part of the application.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a
Wait, can I just?
Oh, please.
Jane wasn't
Sorry,
quite
Jane.
So the reason you need this application is because if you don't call it a balcony, if it's just the roof of that area, you don't need the variance, is that what you're saying?
Correct. If we,
If it's a roof, you don't need the variance, if you turn that roof into a balcony, you need the variance.
I believe, is that correct, Matt?
That's not
No,
correct.
he was
No,
only the
No,
variance.
putting a roof on it is why he needs the variance. They're just, if,
Make a
because of
balcony.
the, yeah, if they have to put his logic was if we have to put a roof on it, why not make the top of the roof
Okay.
usable and make it a balcony?
Okay, so if it's exterior space, though, how does that affect the FAR that they're adding?
There's some interior Something on their plan. Their survey showed an increase in FAR.
Part of the kitchen renovation.
Might have been, but I don't know why, that's what they have for their number on there. I don't usually challenge, when the surveyor provides their information. So they went up, to 30.9, and that, their indication that includes part of the third floor attic. So the addition that they're proposing now doesn't increase their FAR, but their new calculation with their attic is included, that wasn't included before.
Thank you.
So my guess is that's a modification from existing that they're including now.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So my question, I just want to be clear, is this, because it's hard to see from the plans, but this is the side of the corner lot, this is where you're affected, this is where you're going into the setback in the corner lot?
There's no setback on this.
I'm sorry, you're asking for, what are you asking for?
Increasing FAR and lot coverage, which basically just means they put the roof on it. It has a.
Right, so but they wrote in the application that they were a corner lot.
And that's the hardship.
Which is
And
the
that's the
hardship.
hardship, right, but how does, that doesn't really,
Doesn't have anything.
because a corner lot usually affects how far you can go into it, but it really doesn't have anything to do with how you're building this.
No.
I'm asking him. And then the next question I have is this built yet, or are you waiting to build this?
We're waiting to build.
So you don't live here now?
No, we live there.
Oh, so this is a complete renovation?
No, the house is.
Okay, I'm just asking, I'm allowed to ask, right? So can you just explain to me what exactly your renovations are?
So I'm not sure how far back you want me to go.
No, just for this application.
We're asking to put a balcony up.
Okay, that's it, right? That's the only thing that matters for this application. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Harold.
A quick question, how will you access the balcony?
Through from the second floor.
There's a door.
There's an existing,
No, they'll put a door.
a door will be put in.
Okay, so that's like probably like a bedroom balcony or something?
Yeah, I don't have a floor plan for the second floor.
So all they're
Until they-
doing is putting on a balcony.
Instead of doing a covered roof, they're changing it to a balcony.
That's on the side.
Any other questions?
One more thing.
Go ahead, Jane.
I'm sorry. So if you don't get this variance, you're still gonna have the first floor.
Still gonna have it, correct, yes.
Yeah, so this is just excess.
Extra in the sense that
Yeah,
That's
so
all you're
I-
asking for, is that second.
Oh, wait, I think,
Here she is.
I'm sorry, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. I heard some of the questions and I'm sorry, what was that last question? Because I was gonna address it, but I want to make sure I do it properly.
Mr. Everly, do me a favor, just state your name and your address for the record.
Sure, it's Maria Eberly, 348 Sunny Home Drive, Fairfield, Connecticut.
Thank you.
So my question is, this application is only for that second floor balcony / roof. That's it.
Yes, and my understanding is that it's just for, and of course you all are the experts, but my understanding is it's just for being able to walk on it, right? So I think we would do the roof notwithstanding. That's not what we're asking the variance for. It's just to be able to actually turn it into something we could walk on.
Is that correct, Matt?
Technically, no. They would need the variance because they're covering the space. They're just changing it to be a balcony so they can utilize that space.
But it doesn't have to be covered. It's just something you desire.
That I don't know.
That's my question.
So the question is there something about the roof that makes your exterior space or makes what you're doing to the property more functional, or would you not be able to function with the outdoor amenity without it?
I mean, I think it depends on what you define as function, but for us, it's covering a kitchen area, right? So covering that space so that we could use it year round. versus, right, rain and everything coming onto it.
That's all it is.
That's it, just the balcony, just a roof.
That's existing. That's what they're adding. Yeah.
They want to change that to a balcony.
Exactly. But they have to, even if it is a roof, they have to have a variance.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to.
Okay. Interesting.
Any other questions?
I just want to confirm that Sophie Coleman is the neighbor that you would be looking out on from the balcony and she signed this?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
One more question.
Go ahead, Jane.
Did you design, who designed, you're building this according to your own design?
Design it in terms of the sketches.
I mean, this is a new built project? Or did you guys build this house? That's my question.
No, we didn't build the house.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? One last chance. Seeing none and hearing none, are there any questions? Or is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in favor of this application or online? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone online or in the room who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, close the hearing. Does anybody need 5 minutes? Okay. We're going straight in. Okay. Do I just need to state that number 7 was continued? Just stating for the record that number 7, 100 Sturgis Lane, map 226, parcel 42A, petition of Michael Hanna for a variance of zoning regulations 5.2.4 to reduce sideline setback from 25 feet, currently 30.9 feet, proposing 116 feet. Permission to construct a 1-story garage. In addition, it has been continued to July. Okay. Start with number 1 on the general docket. This is the petition of 765, let's read this right, 765 Church Hill Road, map 26, parcel 219, petition of Deborah and Joseph Sirico for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the side setback for an accessory structure greater than 15 feet in height from 10 feet, currently 3.1 feet, proposing 4.1 feet, permission to remove an existing garage and rebuild a FEMA compliant 2-car, 2-story garage with a home office on the 2nd floor. Premises is a zone. I need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Christine motions to approve.
I second.
Jane seconds. Discussion, please.
It's a very tight lot. They're improving the setback of 3 to 4, even though it's taller. But I don't have any objection to this.
It's also, it's 1,300 square foot home. And so I understand the need that the occupant has of having an office space, additional living space. And I don't think that there's any issues with, we didn't see any issues with the neighbors, so I don't see any concerns.
Okay, call for a vote.
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Brian? Yes. Motion carries. On to number 2, 5151 Park Avenue, map 13, parcel 1. Petition of Sacred Heart University Incorporated for a variance of the zoning regulation, section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the street line setback for a fence greater than 6 feet to within 40 feet. Section 29.9 to increase the size of a monument sign from 20 square feet, proposing 42 square feet. And section 29.13, I can remove that. So we'll be doing the call without the permit for the sign, without the number on it. Permission to replace an existing ground sign with a new non-illuminated sign and new stone pier columns with a fence greater than 6 feet. Need a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Christine,
I second.
Harold seconds. Discussion, please?
Well, I just, first of all, I thought the design was beautiful, really beautiful. And it's so hard to understand what to do when it's a residential zone and it's a school. I mean, we can't hold it to residential requirements, it's not realistic. And then if we said, well, we're gonna make you do residential, how, they can't even have a sign. Can you have a sign if you're,
You can.
okay, how big would it be
20 square.
for a residence?
Yeah.
So I don't really have a basis for saying no. I know that sounds like, how do you say no to something that is so irregular?
Well, if you look at it from the positive side, it creates continuity with the design from the rest of the.
No, but I just
thing and-
mean from like looking at it from, okay, here's our standards, right? Here's our zoning laws.
That's their hardship.
That's their hardship
Yeah.
because they don't fit into our zoning laws. Well,
Right.
I don't know if that's called a hardship, actually.
It
So
is.
maybe we need to, is it a hardship not to fit into zoning?
Sure.
So, that's all I have to say about that.
I mean, it is in a residential zone, but it's also on the Bridgeport Fairfield line and it doesn't affect any residences.
Right.
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That passes. Number 3, 150 Stroll Rock Common, map 121, parcel 98B. Petition of Amy Selter for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the sideline setback for an accessory structure greater than 100 square feet from 25 feet, proposing 12.3 feet. Permission to construct a 12 by 14 shed. Premises is AA zone. Need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Christine,
Second.
and second. Discussion, please.
Was it
Go ahead.
established that this is a structure that is on a cement slab, or if it's grounded in some way, or is it movable?
If you look at the drawings, it's on skids,
On skids,
pretty much.
so it's movable.
Probably be on aggregate and skids, yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I didn't understand is that the drawing that was submitted shows a fence, but the applicant says there is no fence, but you need a fence for the pool. So I guess it just needs to be updated.
The surveyor may have put it in correctly.
That's it. Yeah, but
Yep, it's a fairly de minimis request. The topography kind of pinned them where they needed to be.
There's leaching and septic fields that aren't usable.
It's not electrified, it's not plumbed.
Nope. Just a shed.
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Jane,
yes.
and I am a yes. Passes, all set. And number 4, 475 Lockwood Road, map 47, parcel 117, petition of Roshan Pulapali and Vipra Sharma for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 40 feet, currently 45.7 feet, proposing 36.6 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15 and 30%, currently 18 and 29.7%, proposing 20.2% and 31.2%. Permission to construct a one-story addition and front porch. Premises is R3 zone. I need a motion to approve, please.
I motion to approve.
Christine motions to approve. Harold, you are the second.
I'll second.
Discussion, please.
It's an undersized lot. It's a existing nonconformity
Yeah, so the hardship is standard.
and the living room section is not very big that they're asking for. It's sort of de minimis.
About the living room, yeah.
And if it was just a porch, we wouldn't be here. It's just,
Right.
so we're creating volume where there's already a floor and a
Right.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Christine? Harold? Jane?
Yes.
And I am a yes. That passes, you guys are all set. And number 5, 1499 Post Road, map 180, parcel 86, petition of RK Fairfield First, I'm guessing, LLC, for variance of the zoning regulation, section 28.6.12 for to reduce the required parking spaces by 31, permission to establish a restaurant premises is CDD. Need a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
Christine motions to approve.
Second.
Harold seconds, and some discussion, please. Go ahead, Jane.
There's plenty of parking, that's not the issue at all. This is not, at what point do we have too many restaurants? Are we saturated with restaurants?
That's not
It's
really
not our
what
call.
we're
I know,
here
I'm
to
just
discuss.
this is
but-
a rhetorical question,
And-
that's it.
Well, I'm gonna answer it by, from what council said about the menu, we don't have enough of that. So,
But because that's a private parking lot, there's loads of parking.
there's more than enough there are more than enough spaces, there's more than enough parking available there.
And just for discussion purposes, like Attorney Fallon brought up, like what the zoning or special counsel is looking at, changing some of the requirements.
Mhm.
I don't really think we can use that as how we vote, because we can't vote on what might happen, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's all, I just wanted to point that out, because he spent a good amount of time on that, and I understand that's what the town may want eventually, but if it's not there, and which would be good not to have to come to us for variances eventually for this, so, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I would agree completely, and I think, we're not here to predict the future of what
Right,
could happen,
right.
but based on the existence and the conditions of where this restaurant's going to be, and the fact that council made me hungry when he promised he wouldn't, I don't really have a problem with this, so. Go ahead. Oh, Harold, sorry.
This is located in the proximity of the Fairfield University bookstore.
Yes.
My question is, will the students get a discount?
No. I don't even have to ask them.
Yes, I'm in favor, yes.
Yes.
Christine, Harold,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and I am a yes. No problem. Yeah. And finally, number 6, 348 Sunny Home Drive, map 139, parcel 394. Petition of Maria Eberly for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15 and 30%. Currently 15.83% and 29.9%, proposing 17.4 and 30.98%. Permission to construct a balcony. Premises is R3 zone. I need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve.
Christine motions to approve. Harold seconds. Discussion, please.
It's a very minimal increase in the footprint.
It is.
And the roof is requested to shelter the outdoor kitchen. I wouldn't want my lamb chops grilling to be on either.
Fair enough.
The neighbor doesn't seem to mind having a balcony overlook them, but I'm still struggling with a hardship.
Yeah.
So, well, this falls into, and I know I've said this in 100 meetings and in 100 other places, but the existence of this board does not specifically require a stated hardship. If a request is so de minimis and bears no objection and bears no negative impact on the comprehensive zoning plan and all the things that we're here to protect, then we do have the purview to grant such a variance.
They have to have a hardship. They have to stay there.
Yes, that is the law, I believe.
As I've read it and as I understand it, if there is we don't have to grant it.
No.
But if there is something that someone wants that does not have a specific and stated hardship, we do have the purview to grant such an application. And if anybody on the planet wants to appeal it, if anybody wants to say something about it in the future, then they are fully willing to do that, and they have the opportunity to come here and object to it.
I mean, that's why the neighbors, it's important that they were okay with it in my book. you
Agreed.
know, But
Agreed. It's something so small and relatively trivial that
You mean this, that's what you're saying about this one? That you
that's
think
that's
it-
that's what I'm saying about
About
this
this
about this
application?
particular
You're
application.
saying us, you think it should be approved?
I am, absolutely.
I
I
didn't
think
really
I think it's something that it's not gonna negatively impact anyone. Everyone around it has signed off on it. It is,
Well, it's not, I just wanna be clear, it's not everyone around it, it's
But the
one,
one-
it's the
It's-
one
well,
person they look at.
the one
It's
person that-
One neighbor, right,
directly looks at it
Right.
that would be most affected by it. There's no one here to speak an objection to it, and they were required to notify all neighbors. Whether they were able to get everyone's signature or not, they were required to post notification of the application.
wait, I thought the town posted an application.
The application has to be
Right,
posted
but
either
the town
by,
posted, right,
Yeah.
not them, okay, I just wanna make sure.
but regardless, the notice of application was posted
In a
in accordance
newspaper.
with the law
I
in the
know,
newspaper.
but you also know,
I-
how many people read the newspaper?
I don't know, I look at the comment section more than anything else. But at the end of the day, things were done in accordance with our regulations. It's my opinion that this is something that I can't see a good enough reason to not grant it. To say this is either being greedy or being overbuilt in any way, shape, or form, or presents any detriment to either the neighborhood or the comprehensive zoning plan of the town of Fairfield.
Do you mind if I ask you what you think, like, just from like, what you think about this application?
I think this application is, it doesn't, if we granted that extra bit of roof coverage, whether it's a roof or a balcony, it really is irrelevant. I mean, it's fine, it doesn't affect anybody. But the issue of hardship, that's a separate conversation
Yeah, we'll have that,
outside of this.
yeah.
So,
I just wanted to hear what everyone.
okay, then I'm in favor, yes.
Yes, too.
Christine, Harold,
Yes.
Jane,
yes, but can I just finish answering? One of the reasons I sometimes say no or sometimes say yes is if saying yes causes hardship to another neighbor, that's the reason to say no. This has no effect on
it
it.
says,
So
That's
my
my thing.
yeah, and I'm a yes. So it passes unanimously.
Your lamb chops are safe.
When you guys coming up, we'll give you the date when ready.
This, you have to, they do have to.
Guys.
No, I-
Have a good night.
Thank you.